Dan, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Big day for Rachael Reeves today, but I'm struggling to see a way out. The Daily Mirror's tried very valiantly today. I don't know if you got a chance to look at their paper, but they've tried incredibly valiantly to make Rachael Reeves look like the sort of, the nation conqueror, the all-powerful woman in the high-vis jacket. They've actually got a picture of her in front of a tank saying battle ready, which is kind of embarrassing, really, because she's not really battle ready, is she? I mean, she'll be lucky to survive the summer, won't she?
Well, yes. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's going to be difficult for Keir Starmer to dump his Chancellor because, firstly, if he dumps her, then that's admission of his own, as it were, culpability in the disaster that is becoming Labour's economic policy.
Yeah.
And also experiences that if ever a Prime Minister, as it were, falls out with their Chancellor, then it always ends quite badly for the Prime Minister. So those are the sort of two counterpoints. But the political reality is, I mean, obviously we still have to wait and see. We have to wait and see what the actual figures are. We have to see what Rachael Reeves actually announces. But if it is sort of on the scale that is being reported this morning, in terms of the extent that she's completely sort of halved growth, if she's completely missed her borrowing targets, if she has to introduce the sort of spending cuts that are being reported, then she's really not got anywhere left to hide. And I think...
Well, that's what I think. I think she's got nowhere to go, really.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, there are a number of places she could go. She could do what, for example, and by the way, I'm not advocating these, but these are options in front of her. She could do what the Germans have done, for example. Obviously, we're getting the whole sort of G.I. Jane Act this morning, with her standing in front of tanks and saying, this is all being done to protect us from Vladimir Putin. She could do what the Germans have done, which is sort of amend her fiscal rules to, as it were, discount this emergency defence expenditure. She could reverse the huge tax rises on business, which are obviously killing growth. She could do what I sort of advocated in the Mail on Sunday, which is introduce what I called a Loveys tax. I mean, it's a lot of sort of rich Labour supporters who voted for this government, and I personally think it's time to start. They voted for a Labour government. I think it's time to start asking them to pay for it.
Yeah, I like that, actually. I did like that. But, I mean, the thing is also, what Germany have done is very unpopular in Germany. So the problem is I was just reading a piece of the Telegraph this morning saying that the AfD Alternative for Germany have hit an all-time high in polling because they're representing the backlash, because it's kind of a weird world we live in now. The right wing now apparently don't want to build up military spending in the same way that the right wing used to. And so they're actually making huge gains in the polls because most people in Germany are against arming Germany up for a battle with Russia.
But this is the key to it. I mean, you're talking about the popularity of the decisions. I'm looking at it in a different way now. I mean, we've looked at obviously budgets for years and gauged the popularity or unpopularity amongst the British public. I'm sensing something different. I think it's not a question of popularity. It's a question of what the public are going to tolerate any longer. And they've had it now from governments of all persuasions for years, if not decades. This narrative that you just have to sacrifice a bit more, and you've got to just give a little bit more, and then things will get better again. And things never get better.
Yeah.
And I don't think, especially given that we've had a shift from a Conservative to a Labour government, we can have a big discussion about what people did or didn't vote for. I am pretty certain, though, that there are a couple of things. People did not vote Labour because they expected new cuts to public services,
right,
which is what's being talked about today. They didn't vote Labour because they wanted the economy to go in an even worse direction than it did under the Tories. And I think crucially, and we're hearing again additional what Labour's calling welfare cuts today. They didn't vote Labour because they expected to see the poorest pensioners, the disabled, ordinary working people through, again, sort of quite draconian cuts to their public services, see them paying to clean up the last government's mess and the mess of politicians before them. And they're just not going to put up with it.
No,
I just think
I think that is the key to that's the key to it, isn't it? Because it's not just about polling anymore. It's about how fed up people are getting, and they're getting very fed up. And an awful lot of people that voted Labour are actually kind of embarrassed. And I think a lot of Labour politicians are also slightly embarrassed because they didn't expect that this would be the place they would be 9 months after getting in. You know, you remember when Tony Blair got elected in 1997, there was a kind of triumphalist thing that went on, you know, albeit that some of it was a little bit fake. But, you know, when everybody saw them marching up Downing Street with little kids, and it was all very much a renewal of Britain, and it was a kind of a feel-good factor. But there has never been a feel-good factor with this lot. It's just been a feel-bad factor, and the feel-bad factor gets worse every single week, you know.
And that is that leads on to what I'm talking about with I think the lack of political sustainability in terms of what Rachael Reeves is proposing. This isn't a government that was elected with a fanfare of delight and 45% of the vote. This is a government that started off on 34%. The latest polls have Labour bouncing around on 22, 23%. There are some signs that we're already starting to see a further erosion of Labour support, which has been, as we know, has been sliding back consistently since the election. Yeah. Because of the cuts to the disability cuts, and that's before what we're seeing today. And we can all debate, you know, and we'll all debate the rights and wrongs of what Rachael Reeves has done. But we've got a very important by-election coming up, which the opinion polls at the moment are showing Labour is going to get an absolute shellacking, and as are the Tories. And then we've got local elections coming up this year, when again I think Labour support and Tory support is going to implode, and I think we are going to see a massive surge towards reform. And now there are some people on the Labour Party who are saying, "Oh, don't worry, it's just a matter of time, and then people will start drifting back." I don't know who they're speaking to. Yeah. The people I'm speaking to are basically saying, "Look, we've kind of had it with both of you. Yeah. We've had it with the Tories, we've had it with Labour, we've had it with the broken promises from both of you, and I think we are heading towards a very, very serious economic and political crisis in this country. Because the reality is, Labour lied. You know, Rachael Reeves told everybody. Remember, we had this great fully costed, great fully costed proposal. They wouldn't need to raise taxes. They certainly would protect the most vulnerable. And I think, as I say, this is the key point. Once again, it is working people, it is those on the lowest incomes who are going to be asked to bail the country out again at a time when we're being told the wealthiest are going to be protected. And I just don't think people are going to tolerate that.
They're really not. And also they're feeling it in their pockets as well, which they keep being told that the pockets are going to be filled with money. And let's just remind ourselves of what Rachael Reeves actually did say.
We've said that all of our plans will be fully costed and fully funded.
Yeah, there it is. The hair's got a bit more expensive since then, hasn't it? She's managed to find a decent hairdresser. But, you know, the fact is people have had enough of the lies. You know, we had Nick Timothy last week looking at Prime Minister's questions, accusing Keir Starmer of 25 untruths in the space of 30 minutes, which he then put into a thread on Twitter, all of which he was correct about, you know, claiming that they inherited an 11% inflation rate, which was untrue, the £22 billion black hole, which has been sending us to sleep for ages now, untrue, a whole series of things that they keep repeating as a mantra, like, you know, we're putting more money into working people's pockets, we're building growth for the future. I mean, one of the versions of what Rachael Reeves is going to do today is that she's going to, you know, make sure that Britain's future is secure by spending money on infrastructure like the Lower Thames crossing and all of this. Well, where's that money coming from?
But just set all that aside. Look at how the government has chosen to frame this budget. Obviously not calling it a budget, but that's what effectively it is. You showed it at the start of the programme. They decided to frame it by getting Rachael Reeves to go out and stand in front of a tank. Yeah. Right? Now, this is going to be the narrative that they're going to push today. we need to do this because the Tories black hole is now actually, it's not the Tories black hole, it's Vladimir Putin's black hole.
Yeah.
Now, if Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves and other members of the Labour government think that the mood of the British people is that they are prepared to see, as I say, additional cuts to vital services for working people, additional hardship for poor pensioners, additional hardship for the disabled, so Rachel Reeves can afford to send that tank to Ukraine, they are about to get the shock of their political lives.
Yeah.
Now, I say this as somebody, I'm on this on here every week, talking about how we do have to confront Putin, we do have to support Ukraine, but I'm telling you, the British people again are not going to accept it.
No.
The reaction to what Rachel Reeves is going to be today is not going to be, okay, fair enough, fantastic. We all have to dig deeper yet again.
Shoulders to the wheel and all that. No.
To send tanks to Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're not going to put up with it.
Right.
What it's going to do, and you'll see this in the polls, is people will turn around and say, no, hang on a second, we've got to take care of ourselves.
Exactly.
We've got to protect our own vulnerable people rather than the vulnerable people in Ukraine. Again, I said it last week, the political and economic strategy that the government is pursuing at the moment is absolute madness.
Yeah, and it keeps us all over the place as well because, you know, we probably won't have time this morning to talk about the whole situation going on in America, but, you know, very clearly, you know, it's like how many more hints do you want that Donald Trump doesn't really care about Britain, he doesn't really care about Europe, he doesn't really care what Europeans do or say. They're interested in doing a deal with Putin for hell or high water, whether it's good or bad, doesn't really matter. You know, Starmer's gone very quiet on this whole kind of coalition of the willing. You know, even Emmanuel Macron has kind of carved him out of the European deal, and so he's kind of left stranded on this little island on his own.
Well, this again is the political problem. So people within the Labour Party and people within Downing Street thought that because Keir Starmer was winning plaudits for his UK strategy, that gave him political capital to ram through the sort of spending cuts to disability benefit that we're going to see today. The absolute opposite is true.
Yeah, it hasn't happened, has it?
As I say, with the G.I. Joe, G.I. Jane strategy, is what's going to happen is that is going to now start to contaminate Keir Starmer's Ukraine policy.
Yeah. Because
people, as I say, are going to start turning around. I mean, I was speaking to Labour MPs last week who were saying they're already starting to get this on the doorsteps. They're saying, how is it we can afford to send drones to Ukraine but not look after our pensioners?
Yeah.
And also, again, there is a complete deceit in this. We saw Rachel Reeves was on the TV on Sunday. I think it was with Trevor, and she tried to peddle this line. You know, the world has changed. That's why I've got to take the difficult decisions today.
Right.
But when they made the announcement on additional public spending, Keir Starmer stood up and said, "Don't worry, we know precisely how we're going to pay for this. We're going to cut it from the overseas aid budget."
Yeah, exactly. And she was kind of left speechless there because again,
exactly. And then she was left floundering. And the reality is, you know, I think this is what we're going to see today. Again, let's wait and see what the actual figures are.
Yeah.
I think this is the day where Rachel Reeves is going to get found out.
I think you're absolutely right. And in your point about, you know, getting rid of a chancellor, we had Kwasi Kwarteng on here this week saying exactly the same thing. You know, as he said, he knows better than anybody. Get rid of the chancellor, you don't last very long yourself. But I think we're across the Rubicon with this now because she's so bad, you know, at the stewarding of the economy, that something drastic has to happen, and it's a kind of almost exceptional case. But let's just move on briefly, because we've got to leave it soon, to Kemi Badenoch. She was in here with me yesterday. I said to her, one of the things that people criticise you for is not being hard enough on Keir Starmer and Prime Minister's questions. Here's what she had to say.
No one can make him answer. But he doesn't answer questions because he doesn't know. He genuinely doesn't know. I thought he was obfuscating because he didn't want to say the truth. And a lot of the times he actually says things that aren't true. But he doesn't have answers. He didn't have a plan. And so he just keeps repeating the same words. We play Starmer bingo in the office now because we know he's going to say certain things, 22 billion, 14 years. But he's got no answers and no vision for the future.
You think she's got a point?
No, not really, because I mean, you know, with the greatest respect, I mean, we've just been talking about, you know, the what a political disaster the government's economic strategy is. We've all known the other the other issues that we've had. I mean, we didn't even touch with Rachael Reeves the political madness of her, bringing back the whole freebie.
Oh, the freebie stuff. I know. Oh, I know. Well, this is it. There's so much to talk about. You can't get to all the bad stuff.
But this is the point. We could be here all day talking about the political problem and screw ups of the government. And Kemi says she plays Starmer bingo in the office. Well, I think that in the country people play Kemi bingo. Well, actually, it's not really a form of bingo, because we know that every week she's going to stand up on Wednesday at 12 o'clock with this open goal and completely put the ball over the bar. And I think the same issues I was talking about in relation to the politics of this, we've got by-election coming up, we've got local elections coming up. They're going to be, as it were, a sort of a verdict on, effectively the first year of the Starmer government. They're also going to be a verdict on Kemi Badenoch's leadership of the Conservative Party. And I think we all know it's going to be a pretty damning verdict.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, we could, as you say, Dan, do this all day. We might have to do some kind of long-form interview at some point or other, because it's getting ridiculous. Dan Hodges, commentator for the Mail on Sunday, thanks very much indeed.